Commander Hyun-woo Park stared out the window of his ship as they moved through space. The Soul's Pride was not the biggest ship humans had ever built, but it was their first real spaceship meant for traveling between stars. Today, they were going to meet aliens for the first time in an official way. 3 years ago, everything changed. A strange ship appeared near Earth's moon. Inside were beings from another world who said they came in peace. They called themselves the Galactic Council. They told humans that thousands of different alien races lived among the stars, all working together under one big government. At first, humans were excited. They were not alone in the universe. There were friends out there waiting to meet them. The aliens seemed nice enough. They shared some basic technology and invited Earth to send people to their big space station. But lately things felt different. The aliens were acting strange. They asked too many questions about human weapons and ships. They wanted to know how fast humans were building colonies on other planets. Every time humans tried to share their own inventions, the aliens looked worried. Dr. Soo-jin Kim walked up to Hyun-woo. She was Earth's best expert on alien life and their main diplomat. Her job was to talk to the aliens and try to understand them better. Right now, she looked tired and scared. "The reports from our intelligence people are not good," she said quietly. "The Council has been talking about us behind our backs. They think we are growing too fast and becoming too strong." Hyun-woo nodded. He had heard the same things. "What do they want from us?" "That is what we are about to find out," Soo-jin replied. The Galactic Council's space station was huge. It was bigger than any city on Earth, floating in space around a distant planet. Thousands of different alien ships moved around it like busy insects. As the Soul's Pride got closer, Hyun-woo could see how small his ship looked next to everything else. The docking process was smooth. The aliens had good technology, Hyun-woo had to admit. Soon, he and Soo-jin were walking through the station's halls with their small team of guards and scientists. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow softly. Strange. Symbols covered everything, probably writing in alien languages. They met other beings as they walked. Some looked almost human, but with different colored skin or extra arms. Others were completely different. Floating gas clouds, walking crystals, creatures that looked like giant insects. All of them stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. Hi. Counselor Vextar was waiting for them in a large round room. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were black and showed no emotion. Around him sat representatives from 12 other alien species. They all looked serious and unfriendly. "Humans of Earth," Vextar said in perfect English. His voice was cold and formal. "We have called you here to discuss your species' future in our galaxy." Soo-jin stepped forward. "We are honored to be here. Earth looks forward to working with all members of the Council." "That is exactly what we need to talk about," Vextar replied. "Your species has been expanding very quickly since we first made contact. You have built colonies on 17 different worlds in just 3 years. You have constructed warships. You have been developing new technologies without our guidance." "Is that wrong?" Hyun-woo asked. He tried to keep his voice calm, but he felt anger building inside him. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a huge turtle with 6 legs. "Young species must learn to grow slowly and carefully. You humans are like children playing with fire. You could hurt yourselves or others." Vextar raised one of his hands for silence. "The Council has made a decision. For the good of the galaxy and for your own safety, Earth must accept guided development." "Status!" Soo-jin's face went pale. "What does that mean?" "It means we will help you grow in the right way," Vextar explained. "First, you must abandon most of your space colonies. 17 worlds are too many for such a young species. You may keep 3. 3? Hyun-woo could not hide his shock. "Second, you must reduce your military ships by 90%. War is not the answer to problems in space. Third," the turtle-like alien added, "all your new technology must be approved by us before you use it. We have experience. We know what is safe and what is dangerous." Soo-jin took a deep breath. "What if we refuse?" The room became very quiet. Vextar's black eyes seemed to grow darker. "Refusal would be very unwise. The Council has ways to protect the galaxy from dangerous species." We prefer not to use them, but we will if we must. You have 30 of your Earth days to decide. Another alien said. This one looked like a giant spider made of metal. After that, we will take corrective measures to ensure galactic safety. The meeting ended quickly after that. As they walked back to their ship, Su-Jin and Hyun-Woo did not speak. Both of them were thinking the same thing. This was not a request. It was a threat. Back on Earth, President Jin-Ho Lee sat in his office reading the report from the diplomatic mission. Around the table sat his most trusted advisors. General Mi-Young Choi, head of Earth's space military. Dr. Woo-Jin Nam, director of the Global Technology Initiative. All of them looked grim. So they want us to give up almost everything we have built, President Lee said slowly. 14 of our colonies, General Choi confirmed. 90% of our fleet, complete control over our technology development. Dr. Nam shook his head. If we agree to this, we will never be free. They will control everything we do forever. But if we refuse, they might destroy us, President Lee replied. How many ships do they have? How strong are their weapons? We do not know for sure, General Choi admitted. But based on what we have seen, they could have thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. President Lee stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of Seoul stretching to the horizon. Millions of people were going about their daily lives, not knowing that their entire future was being decided in this room. 3 days later, the news came that changed everything. The communication from Tau Ceti was brief and terrible. The human research station there had been destroyed, not damaged, completely destroyed. Nothing was left but floating debris and radiation. 2,847 people had lived on that station. Scientists, engineers, their families, children who would never grow up, parents who would never see their kids again. A message that came with the destruction was simple. This is what happens to species that do not follow council guidance. Choose wisely. President Lee called an emergency meeting. This time, the room was full of anger instead of fear. They murdered our people, General Choi said, her voice shaking with rage. It was a warning, Dr. Nam replied. They want us to be scared. Are we scared? President Lee asked. The room was quiet for a moment. Then General Choi spoke up. Yes, we are scared. But being scared and giving up are two different things. President Lee nodded. Then we all agree? Everyone in the room nodded back. The next morning, President Lee sent a message to the Galactic Council. It was short and clear. We respectfully decline your generous offer of subjugation. The galaxy was about to learn what humans did when someone tried to push them around. The aliens expected humans to surrender. Instead, they got the biggest surprise in galactic history. Dr. Yeon Seo-Kang had not slept in 3 days. She was working in a secret lab deep under the mountains of South Korea, surrounded by computers and strange machines. Her team was building something that had never existed before, a communication system the Galactic Council could not spy on. The quantum encryption is holding steady, her assistant called out from across the room. They cannot break into our messages anymore. This was important. For months, the Council had been listening to every human conversation in space. They knew where human ships were going and what humans were planning. But not anymore. Dr. Kang's invention used the strange rules of quantum physics to make messages that could only be read by the right person. Send the test message to Admiral Yoon, Dr. Kang ordered. Admiral Dong-Hyun Yoon was on the other side of the solar system when he got the message. He was leading the biggest secret operation in human history. It had a simple name, Protocol Dandelion. Just like dandelion seeds that spread in the wind, humans were scattering across space. The Council thought humans lived mostly on Earth and a few big colonies. They were wrong. For 2 years, humans had been building small hidden bases everywhere. Asteroid mining stations that looked like normal rocks, underground cities on dead moons, even hollow spaces inside comets where people could live and work. Every major city on Earth was being quietly evacuated. Not all at once, because that would be too obvious. Instead, people were leaving in small groups. Some said they were going on vacation. Others claimed they had new jobs in space. The Council's spies saw normal civilian movement. They had no idea that Earth's entire population was slowly disappearing. Captain Hyojin Song was in charge of moving people from Seoul. She stood on the deck of a transport ship, watching as another group of families boarded, children pressed, their faces to the windows, excited about their adventure in space. Their parents looked worried but determined. "Where are we taking them this time?" asked her second-in-command. "Asteroid field in the Kepler system," Hyojin replied. "Engineer Jang's team built a new habitat there last week. It can hold 10,000 people." Engineer Minho Jang was proud of his work. His team had invented something amazing: nanoconstruction technology. Tiny robots that could build entire cities from raw materials in just a few days. The council used massive factory ships that took months to build anything. Humans could set up a new colony over a weekend. But that was not the only surprise humans had prepared. Dr. Yoonji Bae was a geologist who studied planets and asteroids. While the council had been threatening humans, she had been making maps. The aliens had explored the galaxy for thousands of years, but they had gotten lazy. They only paid attention to planets that were easy to live on and asteroids that were easy to mine. Dr. Bae found all the places they had ignored. Dead systems full of rare metals, gas giants with special chemicals floating in their atmospheres, ancient alien ruins that the council had forgotten about. These worthless places were about to become very valuable. "Look at this," she told her team, pointing at a star map. "The council thinks this system is empty because the planets are too cold, but look at these readings." Her assistant studied the data. "Those asteroids are full of quantum crystals. We could power our entire fleet with those. And the council does not even know they exist." Dr. Bae smiled. While Dr. Bae was finding new resources, other humans were working on different problems. The council's biggest advantage was their technology. Their ships were faster, their weapons were stronger, and their shields were tougher than anything humans had built. But humans had something the council did not expect. They never stopped improving things. Every piece of council technology that humans had seen, they had studied. Not just to copy it, but to make it better. Council shields were strong, but they only worked in one direction. Human engineers figured out how to make shields that protected from all sides. Council weapons were powerful, but they took a long time to recharge. Human versions could fire 3 times faster. The best part was that humans understood how council technology worked, but the council knew almost nothing about human technology. They had never bothered to study it carefully. After all, humans were just a primitive species that had barely learned to travel between stars. This was their biggest mistake. Dr. Young-Soo Lee ran the secret weapons development program. His lab was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, far from any place the council might look. His team was not just building better versions of alien technology. They were building things that worked in completely different ways. The Ghost Drive test was successful, he reported to Admiral Yoon over the quantum communication system. "Our ship can hide in subspace for up to 6 weeks." "What about the adaptive armor?" Admiral Yoon asked. "Even better. It learns from each attack and becomes stronger. After a few hits, their weapons will barely scratch us." But technology was only part of the human plan. The most important part was much simpler: making friends. Diplomat So Young-han was traveling to systems the council never visited. She was not going to the big, important worlds where powerful aliens lived. She was going to small planets with weak species that the council mostly ignored. These species had been waiting for someone to notice them for a very long time. When a human ship arrived offering trade and friendship, they were excited to talk. So Young discovered that the galaxy was full of species that the council considered not worth bothering with. "They have been holding us back for centuries," explained Kirta, the leader of a species that looked like large cats with wings. "They say our technology is too dangerous, our ships are too aggressive, our ideas are too radical. But when we see what humans have built in just a few years, we realize the council has been lying to us." So Young smiled. "Would you like us to show you how to build quantum communicators?" The council was starting to notice that something was wrong. Their spy networks were going silent. Human ships were disappearing from their usual routes. Strange energy signatures were appearing in systems that were supposed to be empty. High Counselor Vextar called an emergency meeting. "The humans are up to something. Their ships are not where they are supposed to be." "Perhaps they are running away," suggested the turtle-like alien. Young species often panic when faced with superior force. Or perhaps they are preparing for war, said the metal spider. My sensors detect unusual activity in 17 different systems. Vextar thought about this. Either way, we must act quickly, send our enforcement fleets to Earth and their major colonies. It is time to end this. But when the Council's spy ships arrived at the Kepler system, they found something impossible. The human colonies were gone, not destroyed, gone. The buildings had been taken apart, the people had left, and even the landing pads had been removed. All that remained were empty planets and a single communication beacon. The message was from Captain Hae-Jin Song. You are looking for humans in all the wrong places. Back on Earth, President Jin-Ho Lee was getting ready for the Council's response. The planet looked normal from space. Cities still had lights at night. Ships still took off and landed at the spaceports. But most of the people were gone, replaced by robots and volunteers who had chosen to stay behind. General Mi-Young Choi stood beside him, watching the radar screens. Our scouts report Council ships moving toward Earth. About 300 vessels. Are we ready? President Lee asked. As ready as we can be, General Choi replied. The real question is whether they are ready for us. President Lee nodded. Send the message to all our hidden bases. Tell them it is time. Across the galaxy, humans who had been hiding in asteroids and empty systems began to move. They had been waiting for this moment for months. The Council thought they were hunting down a few scared refugees. Instead, they were about to face the most determined species in galactic history. Battlemaster Krothak was confident as his fleet moved through space toward the human colonies. He commanded 300 of the Council's finest warships. Each one was bigger and more powerful than anything humans had ever built. This would be easy. Begin Operation Pruning, he ordered his captains. Destroy their military bases, capture their leaders, and force their surrender. Show them what happens when primitive species challenge the Council. The first target was the Kepler system, where humans had their largest colony. Krothak's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, expecting to find a desperate defense. Instead, they found empty space. Sir, his sensor officer reported, I am not detecting any human ships or bases. Scan the planets, Krothak ordered. Scanning. Complete. The colonies are gone, sir. No buildings, no people, no equipment. It is as if they were never there. Krothak was confused but not worried. They must have run to another system. Check the navigation beacon. The beacon was still working, broadcasting a message in perfect Council standard. Greetings, Battlemaster Krothak. My name is Captain Hae-Jin Song. You are looking for humans in all the wrong places. We suggest you look behind you. Krothak spun around, just as alarms started screaming throughout his ship. His sensor screens lit up with new contacts. Dozens of human ships appearing from nowhere. They had been hiding in subspace, invisible to Council sensors. Impossible, Krothak whispered. How did they learn to do that? The human ships were smaller than Council vessels, but they moved differently. They darted and weaved like birds, impossible to target with the Council's heavy weapons. Every time a Council ship tried to lock onto a human vessel, it would disappear. Back into subspace, Commander Tae-Ho Kim led the first wave of attacks. His ship, the Dancing Crane, lived up to its name as it spun around a massive Council destroyer. The alien ship's shields were strong, but Tae-Ho had studied them for months. Fire the resonance torpedo, he ordered. The weapon looked small and harmless as it approached the destroyer. Council shields were designed to stop kinetic energy and directed energy weapons. They had no defense against a torpedo that matched the exact frequency of their shield generators. The torpedo passed right through and exploded against the ship's hull. The destroyer did not blow up dramatically. Instead, it simply stopped working. All its systems shut down at once, leaving it floating helplessly in space. Target disabled, Tae-Ho reported. Moving to the next one. This was happening all across the Kepler system. Human ships appeared, struck fast, and vanished again. They did not try to destroy Council vessels completely. That would take too long and use too much ammunition. Instead, they targeted specific systems to disable enemy ships. Krothak tried to organize a counterattack, but his communications were being jammed. Every time he tried to send orders to his fleet, the signals were scrambled or redirected. He could see his ships on the sensor screens, but he could not talk to them. Sir, His communications officer called out, "I am receiving a message on the emergency frequency." "From who?" "From the humans, sir. They want to talk." Captain Ji-won Park appeared on the main screen. She was young for a ship captain, with short black hair and calm eyes. Behind her, the bridge of her ship looked surprisingly normal. No fancy. Alien technology, just human engineering. "Battlemaster Krothak," she said politely. "We need to have a conversation." "You dare attack the Council?" Krothak roared. "This is an act of war!" "No," Ji-won replied calmly. "This is a demonstration. You came here to destroy our colonies and capture our people. But our colonies are empty and our people are safe. Meanwhile, half your fleet is now disabled and drifting. Who is winning this war?" Krothak looked at his tactical display. She was right. 60 of his ships were dead in the water, their crews unharmed but their vessels powerless. The humans had not killed anyone, but they had turned his mighty fleet into floating scrap metal. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want you to leave our space and never come back," Ji-won said. "But first, we want you to deliver a message to the Council. Tell them that humans do not surrender, and we do not forget." While Krothak's fleet was being humiliated in the Kepler system, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Every time Council forces tried to attack a human target, they found the same thing: empty colonies and ships that fought like nothing they had ever seen before. The Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years by being stronger than everyone else. Their strategy was simple: build bigger ships, carry more weapons, and crush anyone who opposed them. It had worked perfectly until they met humans. Humans did not try to match the Council's strength. Instead, they used speed, stealth, and technology the Council did not understand. Human ships could hide in subspace, repair themselves during battle, and coordinate their attacks without using any communications the Council could intercept. But the biggest surprise was still to come. Dr. Young-Soo Lee had been busy during the months before the war started. He had not just been building new weapons and ships. He had been talking to species the Council had ignored or oppressed for centuries. The Zilani were one of those species. They lived on a hot desert world that the Council considered worthless. For 300 years, they had been classified as too aggressive for peaceful contact. The Council kept them isolated on their home planet and never let them build spaceships. The truth was that the Zilani were not aggressive. They just did not like being told what to do. When Dr. Lee's team showed up with blueprints for faster-than-light drives and an offer of friendship, the Zilani were very interested. "You humans are the first species to treat us as equals," said War Leader Thakra. "The Council fears us because we refuse to bow to them. Now they will learn why." The Zilani had spent centuries studying warfare while trapped on their planet. They knew more about ship-to-ship combat than most species in the galaxy. All they had needed was the technology to reach the stars. Now they had it, while Council forces were still trying to figure out what had happened to Krothak's fleet. Zilani warships began appearing throughout Council space. They moved in small groups, hitting supply convoys and communication relays before disappearing again. The Vorthek were another surprise. Everyone thought they were extinct. The Council had destroyed their homeworld 50 years ago when they refused to give up their quantum crystal technology. The survivors had fled to dead systems at the edge of the galaxy and hidden there ever since. But they had not been sitting idle. They had been building weapons and waiting for their chance at revenge. When human ambassadors found them and offered an alliance, the Vorthek were ready to return to galactic civilization. Their ships were made of living crystal that could reshape itself during battle. Council weapons that worked perfectly against metal hulls were useless against crystalline armor that could flow like liquid and then harden again in seconds. High Counselor Vextar was getting reports from across the galaxy, and none of them were good. Council fleets were being defeated or disabled everywhere they went. Worse, species that had been loyal to the Council for centuries were now questioning their orders. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his military advisor. "None destroyed, but over 400 disabled." The humans seemed to be trying not to. "Kill us! And our allies? 17 species have declared neutrality. 5 have openly joined the human coalition. The rest are waiting to see what happens next." Vextar's 4 hands clenched into fists. In 6 months, the Council's absolute power over the galaxy had crumbled. Not because humans had built a bigger fleet or conquered more worlds, but because they had shown everyone that the Council was not invincible. What about Earth itself? Vextar asked. Our fleet reached the Sol system yesterday. They found the planet defended by only a few dozen ships. But what? The ships were broadcasting, on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy can hear what they are saying. Vextar pulled up the communication on his screen. A human male in a military uniform was speaking calmly to the camera. My name is President Jin-Ho Lee of Earth, the man was saying. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council demanded that my people surrender our freedom. They wanted us to abandon our colonies, disarm our ships, and submit to their control. When we refused, they destroyed one of our research stations and murdered thousands of innocent people. The president paused, looking directly into the camera. Today, the same council fleet that came to conquer us is floating helplessly in space, around our planet. Their weapons are disabled, their shields are down, and their crews are unharmed but defeated. We could destroy them all, but we will not. We are not monsters like those who rule the council. Vextar felt a chill run through his body. This message was being broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Instead, President Lee continued, we offer the crew of every council ship a choice. You can return to your homes and tell your people what you have seen here. Tell them that there is an alternative to living under the council's boot. Tell them that freedom is possible. Or, the president's voice grew harder, you can stay here and continue this war. But understand that if you choose to fight, you will not be fighting humans alone. You will be fighting every species that has ever dreamed of being free. 6 months after the war began, the galaxy was completely different. Ambassador Kyung-ho Shin stood in front of cameras on a hidden space station, preparing to broadcast the most important message in galactic history. For weeks, he had been working with a team of human historians and alien researchers. They had been digging through old council records, interviewing elderly aliens from oppressed worlds, and putting together a picture of how the galaxy really worked. What they found was shocking. Citizens of the galaxy, Kyung-ho began. Today, we reveal the truth about the Galactic Council. For over 2,000 years, they have been lying to you. Behind him, holographic displays showed documents, recordings, and data files. All of them had been stolen from the Council's most secret archives by human infiltrators and their alien allies. The Council claims they guide young species for their own safety. This is false. They suppress development to maintain their own power. We have proof that dozens of species could have achieved faster-than-light travel centuries ago, but the Council stopped them. Dr. Ji-hoon Kang had spent months analyzing the stolen data. What he found made him sick with anger. The Council had a secret program called Managed Evolution. Every time a species got close to a major technological breakthrough, Council agents would sabotage their research or eliminate their best scientists. Look at this, he said, pointing to a file on his screen. The Altarians developed quantum computing 300 years ago. The Council confiscated all their research and made it classified. The Centauri Federation invented zero-point energy generation. The Council said it was too dangerous and banned its use. How many species? Asked his assistant. 47 that I have found so far. Probably more. The revelations kept coming. The Council had not just suppressed technology, they had suppressed entire civilizations. Species that showed too much. Independents were relocated to safer worlds. Their leaders were arrested for galactic security reasons. Sometimes entire planets were quarantined because their people asked too many questions. When Kyung-ho's broadcast reached the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and explosive. On 12 different worlds, riots broke out as oppressed species realized how much had been stolen from them. Governments that had been loyal to the Council for centuries suddenly found themselves facing angry populations demanding answers. General Irie Nam was coordinating with rebel fleets when the news reached her. She was meeting with commanders from 7 different species, all of them planning attacks on Council supply lines. The truth broadcast is working, reported Fleet Commander Zektar of the Zalani. 3 more species have joined our alliance in the past day. The Vorthek crystal ships have taken control of the Sagittarius Arm, added Captain Morden. Council forces are retreating toward the galactic core. But Arie was thinking about something bigger than military victories. We need to be careful. If we push too hard, the Council might do something desperate. They still have planet-killing weapons. She was right to be worried. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Vexitar was meeting with the other ruling species leaders. The mood in the chamber was dark and angry. "We are losing control of the galaxy," said Councillor Thekmar, representing the ancient Vorthak Empire. "Half our fleets are disabled, our supply lines are cut, and our subject species are in open rebellion." "Then we use the final protocol," suggested War Master Grixion. "Destroy Earth and all human colonies. Make an example that will terrify the others back into submission." Vexitar considered this. The final protocol was the Council's ultimate weapon, planet-destroying ships that could turn entire worlds into asteroid fields. They had used them before on rebellious species. The mere threat was usually enough to maintain order. The humans have shown they can disable our ships, Vextar said slowly. "What if they can stop the final protocol vessels too?" "Impossible," Grixion replied. "Those ships are our most advanced technology. Humans have only been in space for a few years." But humans had been busy during those few years. Fleet Admiral Sungmin Ko was standing on the bridge of humanity's newest secret, a ship unlike anything that had ever been built. The Indomitable was not big by Council standards, but it was built using principles the Council had never imagined. Its hull was made from Vorthek crystal technology combined with human nano-construction techniques. Its engines used Zalani quantum mechanics merged with human creativity. Its weapons were designed by 20 different species working together. Most importantly, its crew was not just human. Aliens from 15 different species worked side by side with humans, sharing knowledge and skills the Council had kept separate for centuries. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Yujin Seo, "we are detecting massive energy signatures from Council space. 3 ships, each over 10 kilometers long." Sung Min nodded. "The final protocol. They are bringing their planet killers." "Orders, sir?" Sung Min looked around his bridge. Human and alien faces looked back at him, all waiting for his command. These beings had chosen to work together despite thousands of years of Council propaganda telling them to stay separate and suspicious of each other. "All ships, this is Admiral Ko. Council final protocol vessels are moving toward human space. They intend to destroy entire worlds to make their point. We cannot allow this." President Jin Ho Lee's voice came over the communication system from Earth. "Admiral, you are authorized to use any means necessary to protect civilian populations. The galaxy is watching." The final protocol ships were massive and heavily defended. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. They had never been defeated in battle, and they had never been successfully boarded. They had also never faced a combined fleet of species working together with a common purpose. The battle began in the empty space between systems. Council escort. Ships moved to intercept the approaching rebel fleet, but they found themselves facing something they had never seen before. Perfect coordination between dozens of different species and ship designs. Zalani fighters moved in complex attack patterns that confused Council targeting systems. Vorthek crystal ships changed shape to deflect enemy fire. Human vessels darted in and out of subspace, appearing where the enemy least expected them. But the real surprise came when the rebels reached the final protocol ships themselves. Captain Taeho Kim had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war. His ship, along with crews from 6 other species, was going to try something that had never been attempted, boarding a final protocol vessel while it was in combat. "Remember," he told his mixed crew of humans and aliens, "we are not here to destroy the ship. We are here to capture it. The galaxy needs to see that these weapons can be taken from the Council and used for protection instead of oppression." The boarding was chaos. Council security forces fought desperately to protect their ultimate weapon, but they were not prepared for enemies who coordinated perfectly despite coming from completely different worlds and cultures. Sergeant Hei-Wan Lim led her squad through the ship's corridors, fighting alongside Zalani warriors and Vorthek crystal beings. Despite their different fighting styles and equipment, they moved as one unit. "Council forces are retreating to the bridge," she reported. "We have control of the weapon systems." Within hours, all 3 final protocol ships had been captured. The crews were taken prisoner, but they were treated well and given medical attention. The ships themselves were turned over to the new Galactic Cooperative, a democratic alliance of free species that was growing larger every day. High Counselor Vextar watched the reports from his council chamber and realized the truth. The war was over, and the Council had lost. Not because they had been destroyed, but because they had been made irrelevant. "What are our options?" he asked his advisors. "Surrender," said one. Join their new alliance as equals instead of rulers, suggested another. Or retreat to our core worlds and ignore the rest of the galaxy, added a third. Vextar looked around the chamber. The same room where, just a year ago, the Council had commanded the loyalty of thousands of worlds. Now they were just another group of species trying to figure out their place in a galaxy that had moved beyond them. Prepare a message to the human leaders, Vextar said finally. It is time to negotiate. But the humans were not finished yet. President Jin-Ho Lee was preparing for the most important speech of his life. In a few days, he would address the new Galactic Senate, a body representing every free species in the galaxy. The old council had ruled through fear and control. The new galaxy would be built on cooperation and respect. The universe is big enough for all of us, he wrote in his speech notes. But it is not big enough for those who would enslave others. The Great Chamber had been built in the ruins of what was once a human research station. The same station that the Council had destroyed a year ago to make an example of humanity. Now, where death and destruction had once floated in space, the largest diplomatic meeting in galactic history was taking place. Dr. In-Soo Park walked slowly to the central podium. He was not a soldier or a politician, but a philosopher who had spent his life studying how different civilizations could live together in peace. Today, his ideas would reshape the galaxy. Around him sat representatives from over 300 species. Some had been members of the old council. Others had been their subjects. Many had never been contacted by galactic civilization at all, until human explorers found them and invited them to join something new. Friends and fellow beings, Dr. Park began. We gather here not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals seeking a better future. In the front row, High Counselor Vextar shifted uncomfortably. A year ago, he had commanded fleets that could destroy worlds. Now he was just another delegate hoping for a chance to speak. The old Galactic Council ruled through fear, Dr. Park continued. They told us that some species were naturally superior to others, that some beings were born to rule while others were born to serve. Today, we prove that these ideas are not just wrong, they are poison that weakens everyone who believes them. Ambassador Haewon Lim was watching the faces in the audience. She could see the hope in the eyes of species that had been oppressed for centuries. She could also see the fear in the representatives of the former ruling species. They were worried about revenge, about being punished for the crimes of their governments. But President Jin-Ho Lee had been clear about this. We are not here to create a new version of the old system with different people on top. We are here to create something that has never existed before. A truly cooperative galactic civilization. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing the structure of the new galactic cooperative. Every species, no matter how large or small, has one vote in the Senate. Decisions are made by democratic process, not by the orders of self-appointed rulers. Technology and knowledge belong to everyone. No species can hoard discoveries or prevent others from advancing. We grow stronger by sharing our strengths, not by hiding them from each other. Most importantly, no species has the right to control or suppress another. Every being in the galaxy has the right to live free, to explore the stars, and to reach their full potential. The vote was not even close. 287 species voted to join the new cooperative. Only 15 chose to remain independent. Mostly the core species of the old council who were not ready to give up their dreams of superiority. But even among the council species, there were surprises. Commander Vorthon of the former council enforcement fleet stood up to address the assembly. I have spent my life following orders from the High Council, he said in a voice that carried across the chamber. I believed I was protecting galactic peace and stability. I now understand that I was protecting only the power of a few species over all others. He turned to face the human delegation. President Lee, I formally surrender the remaining council fleets to the authority of the Galactic Cooperative. We pledge to serve the cause of freedom instead of oppression. The moment was broadcast across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings who had never dreamed of freedom watched as their former oppressors asked to join a new kind of civilization. President Jin-Ho Lee stood to accept the surrender, but his words were not about victory. Commander Vorthon, we do not want your surrender. We want your partnership. The galaxy is large enough and dangerous enough that we need every species working together to explore it and protect it. The cooperative is not about humans ruling others. It is about all of us ruling ourselves. The celebrations lasted for days, but the real work was just beginning. Captain Yujin Seo was selected to lead the first mixed-species exploration fleet heading toward the galactic core. Her crew included beings from 20 different worlds, all working together with the same goal, discovering what lay in the unexplored regions of space. According to our long-range sensors, she reported during the mission briefing, there are signs of ancient civilizations in the core systems, possibly species even older than the Council. Dr. Sun-Hee Yang, the mission's chief scientist, was excited about the possibilities. We might find technologies we cannot even imagine, or we might find new friends who have been waiting for someone to discover them, or we might find new enemies, added Security Chief Quan Ho Min. The galaxy is full of surprises, and not all of them are pleasant. Captain Seo smiled. Whatever we find, we will face it together. That is what makes us strong. As the exploration fleet prepared to leave, messages of support came from across the galaxy. The Zalani sent a traditional war blessing. The Vorthek offered crystal navigation tools that could guide ships through dangerous regions. Even some of the former Council species contributed supplies and expertise. Back on Earth, President Lee was working in his office when General Mi-Young Choi brought him a report. The last of the secret bases are being converted to research stations, she said. Dr. Kang's quantum communication network is being expanded to reach every member world of the cooperative. What about the former Council worlds that chose to remain independent? President Lee asked. They are watching and waiting. Some of their people are already asking their governments to reconsider. I think they will join us eventually. President Lee nodded. And if they do not? Then they do not, General Choi replied. We are not the Council. We do not force anyone to join us. But the president was thinking about something bigger than politics or military strategy. He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. A year ago, humans had been a single species trapped on one world, threatened by forces they barely understood. Now they were part of something unprecedented in galactic history, a voluntary alliance of free species working together for the benefit of all. It was not perfect. There were still conflicts, disagreements, and problems to solve, but it was built on hope instead of fear, cooperation instead of domination. Dr. Sun-Hee Yang's final report from the exploration mission would become one of the most famous documents in galactic history. We have traveled farther from Earth than any human before us. We have seen wonders that our ancestors could never have imagined. Ancient cities floating in space, planets where the very rocks are alive and thinking, stars that sing songs of mathematics and beauty. But the most amazing discovery is not what we found in space. It is what we found in ourselves. When beings from different worlds work together with trust and respect, there is no limit to what we can accomplish. The Council tried to suppress humanity because they feared what we might become. They never realized that what we became was exactly what the galaxy needed. Not conquerors, but liberators. Not just of space, but of possibility itself. We have learned that the strongest species is not the one that dominates others. It is the one that lifts others up. Not just to reach the stars, but to touch the infinite potential that exists when free beings choose to stand together. The galaxy is vast and full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. We will explore them not as enemies competing for resources, but as friends sharing the greatest adventure of all, learning what it truly means to be alive in this amazing universe. The message ended with coordinates for the next phase of exploration, and an invitation for any species that wanted to join the mission. Within hours, volunteer ships from 40 different worlds were heading toward the galactic rim. High Counselor Vextar read the report in his private chambers on the Vorthak homeworld. His species had chosen independence over joining the cooperative, but he was beginning to wonder if they had made the right choice. Outside his window, he could see other Council species' ships leaving for cooperative space. Many of his own people were asking why the Vorthak were choosing isolation over participation in galactic civilization's greatest period of growth and discovery. He activated his communication system and sent a message to President Lee on Earth. The Vorthak Empire would like to discuss joining the Galactic Cooperative. We have much to learn about cooperation, but we are ready to begin. The response came back within hours. Welcome, friends. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. As the years passed, the cooperative grew and prospered. New species were discovered and invited to join. Ancient mysteries were solved through the combined efforts of dozens of different civilizations. Technologies that had been suppressed for centuries were developed and shared freely, and at the center of it all were the humans, not as rulers, but as the species that had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten. That freedom was not something to be feared, but something to be celebrated. That diversity made civilization stronger, not weaker. That the universe was vast enough for everyone to find their place among the stars. The Galactic Council had tried to suppress humanity, thinking they were protecting galactic order. Instead, they had created the catalyst that would transform the galaxy into something greater than it had ever been before. The age of fear and control was over. The age of cooperation and discovery had begun, and it was only the beginning.